Welcome to the GSIP online training program. Today's module is entitled Organizational Transformation Upper Management Module. The purpose of this module is to help students understand the importance of upper management commitment to the transformation, to define the training required for upper management, to define the role upper management will play in the transformation. Transformation is defined as evolving to a higher level of sustained performance. The vast majority, over 90% of the organizational transformations fail. So this is high-risk stuff. And the way we explain transformation, we try to take the lower risk side of doing things, but still getting it finished in a reasonable time. We can greatly improve this. Your number one risk is leadership. Do you have the necessary leadership to pull it off? And in other modules, we talk about the leadership, what type of leadership, etc. But in my industry of organizational transformation, I've actually seen it reported much higher than this, over 95% failure rate. So it is high risk. If you don't follow the rules, it's extremely high risk. So it's important that you follow the rules of transformation if you're to be successful. One of the major reasons for this high rate of failure is lack of upper management support. Or they don't even know the transformation. Someone's doing it down there, and then there's political battles, and they lose, and they do things the same way, and you fail. You have to have upper management support, period. Successful organizational transformation must start at the top. Now, I've created a schedule for your transformation, but I just wanted to do a generic one here and kind of give you a little vocabulary. As upper managers, you need to select a project manager for this transformation. You must have a project manager, and they must answer directly and independently to upper management. Okay? If they don't, things are already going to start falling apart, I can guarantee you. Okay? And so what do we have here? I'm just giving you basic definitions of project management so you can communicate with your project manager. The project manager will have to take some more training, which we have available for them online. But the project life cycle just has steps that must be completed to have a successful project. In this case, we have defined phase, and then this is the work breakdown structure for defined phase. Now we're not doing the defined phase. This is just an example of a Six Sigma project. And so you have the project life cycle, all the general steps you must go through to be successful, and then you have the work breakdown structure, everything you need to do to meet that element of the project life cycle. So you have project life cycle and work breakdown structure there. And we're going to do the same thing with your transformation. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. And then we have this project schedule, and there's these dates up here that says, you know, this element of work must be finished by this date, and you have 5 days to do it. It's very visual. This is called a Gantt chart, and it allows you to visually see what goes on in your project. Some other things you may need that you should know is that each one of these elements of the project life cycle, in this Six Sigma, will be define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So there's only 4 elements to this project life cycle. Of course, there's many elements in the work breakdown structure. And those are also called stages. Define would be one of the stages of the project. Well, what you'll find is when you first start a project, there's not a lot of information. And therefore, the project starts out at high risk. That's what this red line is. And as you go through the various stages of the project, you get more and more knowledge and risk goes down. Of course, as risk goes down, what goes up? Investment. Okay, so you get more knowledge, but investment goes up. And so as you get into these projects, you have more and more money invested in them. A couple key points here you need to know as an upper manager is if each one of these stages, you must go through what they call a stage gate review. And you must look at all of these elements of that part of the project life cycle. Say, did you do this? Did you have any problems? Is there anything we need to know about? And you go over every one of these to make sure they're completely finished. And you get all the knowledge you can. And you may get some new knowledge over here and say, wait a minute, we weren't aware of that. I don't think this is going to work. Then you kill the project. Why would you rather kill the project earlier than later? Because the more time, the more money you have invested. So if you say, hey, we don't have the leadership for transformation, then stop the transformation. Kill the transformation right there. Let's not spend more money on a dying horse here, is what I'm saying, so to speak. Okay? And so that's what this is all about. Another thing you need to know, that as you get more knowledge, you may come back and change the schedule. More knowledge, lower risk if you implement your new knowledge. So this is a living document. You need to know that as a manager. Some managers get mad. Hey, you changed that. You know, what's wrong with you? You didn't have this figured out to begin with? Well, no, it's just the nature of a project. That as you go along, you get more knowledge and you update your schedule with this new knowledge. So don't think that this is set in stone. We do our best to get it generally correct, and then we modify it as we gain more knowledge. And that's something you need to understand. Otherwise, you'll drive your project manager crazy. And you don't want to do that. Your project manager is your friend. Okay. And here we go. This is training upper management. So let me go over here a slide or two. Here it is. These are your stage gates right here, or your project life cycle. Training upper management, training middle management, training supervisors, training support functions such as purchasing, accounting, human resources, sales, and etc. Then training engineering functions, then training the general population, etc. That's your life cycle is in bold. And those are also your project gates. And so you'll say, okay, training upper management, read this book, did you do that? So you'll have a toll gate review. I like to call them toll gates because you have to pay a toll before you can move on in the project. And you don't let them move on until everyone's finished all these requirements. And it says right here, upper management must read the book, Rising Above It All. Go online and take your online modules and finish the exams. Upper management meeting to find agreement, change philosophy. Did you do that? If you didn't do these things, you didn't pay the toll. And you're not allowed to move forward till every one of these things are finished. Now, hopefully you'll be able to finish it on time. But the project manager cannot get things finished on time without upper management support. And we've taken that into account. Anyway, that's kind of what we're looking here. I've already created this, so you can get this from me. You can download it from the website, and your project management can use this if they desire to do so. And this is on Microsoft Project Manager program. So that's a very common program out there. You may want to purchase it so you can use this. If not, I guess you could print these off and use it also, but I'd prefer you get the software so when you make changes, it'll change everything for you. Okay, so here's our first gate, training upper management. If you follow the schedule, that's going to take 37 days. Now, I started from the beginning of the year, so you can translate that to your dates. But I said you're going to start on January 4th, and you'll finish on February 23rd. And then here, reading Rising Above It All, I have two books. One is for leadership, Rising Above It All, The Art and Science of Organizational Transformation. And the other one is for the general employee base, called Rising Above It All, The Art of Living a More Fulfilling and Productive Life. But management will read the longer one. And I give you 30 days. Now, if you need more than that, you can have your project manager change that. But I wouldn't drag it on too long. And maybe you can even do it shorter than that. But it is a fairly thick book. You want to give people time. Online learning assignments, I give you 5 days to do that. So you'll read the book, then you'll go online, do all your online training. Then upper management, meeting to find agreement on change philosophy. That's going to take you 1 day. Create strategic goals and metrics. That takes a day. You may already have that done. If you have to do a full strategy, it would take longer. It depends on how sophisticated you want to get. I'm keeping things pretty simple here. documenting strategically aligned projects to get started there, and then you perform that toll gate review that I talked about. Make sure you've completed all these things. If you did, you have management sign off on it, and you can move to the next stage of the project. You may change some things once you gain additional knowledge here. And we've already went through this. This is the schedule, and I've went through upper management training. I blew that up right here so you could see specifically what you need to do. So you need to come up with a plan. If these dates work for you, then you can just use these. If not, you need to change them to meet your needs. And that's kind of step one, is coming up with this project. And put it in project management, Microsoft Project Manager. And notice I have all these other trainings going on. We're going to go through all of these, but it's very important that this was strategically. I've worked with a lot of companies transform them. Not only is it important to do these elements, but it must be done in a timely manner. In other words, you can't start training operators before upper management's trained. That doesn't work. So realize, follow this. If you'll follow the schedule and you have the type of leadership you need, you'll have a successful transformation. Now, it ends up taking a while as you go through the whole process here. This ends on 10th month, okay, October. And it started in January. So that's 10, 11 months before this first wave of transformation will be successful. It doesn't happen overnight, but a lot of the reasons transformations fail is, oh, we can't take 10 months, we've got to do this in 3 days. And you skip all this stuff and you fail. So I'm being rather conservative with risk. I'm not going to be a big risk taker because it's already high risk enough. But it takes about 10, 11 months before you'll start seeing significant improvements in your processes, just so you know. Because we have to get everyone trained. They have to be trained in the right order. You have to create alignment with all your philosophies throughout the organization, or transformation will fail. All right, we've talked about this. Preceding each stage is a decision point or gate. The objective of the gate is to make a go-kill decision on the project. Do we kill it or do we let it go forward? Remember, you're better off to kill something that's going to fail early on. Now, could it be that you'll realize you go through this, hey, we're not ready for transformation. Okay, stop the project right there and get everything in alignment and then start again. Maybe start your project schedule over again. But again, don't move forward if you haven't completed all the necessary elements, or you find out you're not capable. Your organization. Why are most organizations not capable of transformation? Because they don't have the leadership. The leadership has not matured to a point that they can pull this off. Maybe they don't believe the whole lean thing will work, and you're not getting buy-in, then don't go forward. Kill the project. Kill the transformation. Come back another day when you're more prepared. Gates are when mediocre projects or transformations are killed and resources are allocated to go projects. So we do it on every one of these. Where there's a bulb, then there's a work breakdown structure. We always do, I'll go up to the top of the project. We always do these first. We complete all of these and everyone's in alignment before we go down to middle management and etc. So it's very important that you work this transformation like a project manager would have you do. Okay, here's, you could use this as a form for that toll gate review. Okay, management, did everyone read Rising Above It All? Yes, 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 yes. No, Bill didn't. Well, why not, Bill? Why haven't you met this? When can you meet it? We need to move forward. You're holding everything back here because you didn't meet this. What's going on here? We can't move forward for this project until you finish it. And so say, okay, for right now, we're going to put it on hold. I guess I should have put another element on hold until whatever his name finishes reading the book, because it has to be done. It's part of the transformation. All this stuff has to be done. You start cutting corners, you're going to raise the risk of the transformation, and so on and so forth. And you can take minutes over here, etc., and put minutes down here. This isn't overly sophisticated at all. This is very simplistic, but I like to keep things simple. Some people like to make things so complex that no one understands what's going on. The thing fails because of that. I've seen more projects fail because we've made it more complicated than it needs to be than simpler. And that's just my experience. Yours may be different. But create this to where you're comfortable with it, and then hold that meeting at this date, Tollgate review meeting. This one's February 23rd, and hold that and see if all that's being done. If it is, then you go no kill or move forward. And if it's not, you may put it on hold, or you may realize we're not going to get buy-in on this. Too many people disagree. Let's kill the transformation for right now. And don't spend any more money on it. That's okay. I'd rather have you do that than spend $1 million and not get anything out of your investment. Gates deal with 3 quality issues. Quality of execution. Okay, we have this plan, and we said to read this book, and they read the book, but you know what? I asked some questions. No one understands it. Okay, so that would be poor quality. They executed it, but the quality of the execution was terrible. Quality of business rationale. Okay, is it still, do we still follow this? Are we going to get a return on investment? Quality of the action plan itself. So you judge that in the stage gates. You look at all those elements. You may have others. I just threw in some things, a few elements to get your mind flowing. Gates, the structure of each gate is similar. Deliverables, inputs into the gate review, what the project leader and team deliver to the meeting. These are defined in advance and are the results of actions from the preceding stage. A standard menu of deliverables is specified for each gate. And we had it in there. You must read the book, you must take the training, etc., etc. So we had specific goals for each gate, deliverables. Criteria, what the project is judged against in order to make the go, kill, and prioritization decisions. These criteria are equally organized into the scorecard and include both financial and qualitative criteria. So again, I kept mine pretty weak at some of these things, but the criteria would just be, these are the rules, you must do these things. That's the criteria. Outputs. The outputs of reading the book should be the managers understand the philosophy. That's an example of an output. Gates must have clearly and articulated outputs, including a decision and a path forward. Now, outputs, one of the outputs is when you read the book, I have tests on that book. And so one of the outputs will be your test scores, and it will give me, say, okay, they did this, they read it, but do they understand it? So that would be a deliverable. Benefits of using the stage gate process. Let's just read about that a little bit more. You guys have to understand the basics of project management or you could get yourself in trouble. The stage gate product innovation system, that's where we had the different gates and we held people responsible to finish those things before we moved on to the next. And so yeah, I think you understand that. Experts say almost 85% of all North American companies have achieved improved returns on their product development dollars and achieved new growth by using the stage gate method, reviewing and accepting and giving permission to move on. When implemented properly, stage gate delivers tremendous impact, accelerates speed to market, in our case accelerates the transformation, increases the likelihood of product success, which is really our constraint in this project. We have to be successful. Introduces discipline into an ordinarily chaotic process, and it does that. Reduces rework and other forms of waste in our transformation, so it can help you there. Improves focus via gates where poor projects need to be killed. Achieves efficient and effective allocation of scarce resources also, so it can help that way. Ensures a complete process. No critical steps are omitted in the process of the project. So there's your sales pitch for using the stage gate process. I highly recommend it. If you don't, you're running a risk of the transformation failing, and it's a big risk. So please do that. Here's our, I showed you this earlier, this is our stage gate review for training of upper management. Now you could break this down into how many pages you need to read on day one, etc. And you have to decide how much complexity you want in the project management plan. More complex problems deserve more complexity. And if your organization's bigger and has more people, you'll probably have to get more specificity in this. Smaller organizations, this will probably work just fine. But you'll have to custom fit it to meet your needs. If upper management and project managers are to be successful in transforming their organizations, they must agree upon a functional philosophy concerning organizational transformation. Everyone needs to be on the same page, if you will. If you're not, right up front, upper management's going in different directions, kill it right there. You have to be together on this thing. The philosophy that I strongly recommend for your transformation is found in my book, Rising Above It All, The Art and Science of Organizational Transformation. There's a picture of it right there. It did win the Shingo Award for publications, by the way. And it will really give you some ideas on leadership and culture elements of your organization that everyone needs to understand. So everyone needs to read this book. Remember, I gave you a month to read it. Now, I also have other options that I'll talk about later. We have it online, etc. But I prefer the book method. Why do I like the book? Because people read, and then they say, okay, and then I've read it enough for a while, and they put it away, and they kind of ponder on the thoughts. That pondering process is something that's important, that you thoroughly understand it, that you buy into it. Buy-in takes time. That's why I like the book method better. And I'd recommend you have everyone read the book. Then they can carry it around with them and open it up and quote from it, should there be any argument on how the transformation is supposed to be run. Okay, that's kind of the rule book, if you will, on how to lead the transformation. Okay, so read that and make sure you understand it. There are 3 options to get started in understanding this philosophy. The first option is to attend a face-to-face lecture that explains the philosophy. This lecture takes between 6 and 8 hours, depending on the amount of questions. So you can hire me to come out to your organization and give a face-to-face. And for some organization, that's going to be best. To be honest with you, it's best for a lot of them because they just don't have time. Upper management is extremely busy, so you may decide to do this. Sometimes I like it. I like the book because it gives you time to think about it more. But that's up to you. If you need to put it in high gear, you can still do this without creating a lot of risk. And I've given a lot of those lectures, and they're very effective. The second option is to read my book entitled Rising Above It All, The Art and Science of Organizational Transformation. It's the one I prefer, to be honest with you. I find that people think about it more deeper, and you get better commitment. But again, this works also. I wouldn't have put it as an option if I considered it to be too risky. The third option is to listen to the lectures online. And so you can also do that. That would be the riskiest one. This one allows me to give you feedback and answer questions. And this book one is a good one. A little higher risk here. But you may decide to go that way also. All these are acceptable risk, in my opinion. After upper management understands the principles taught in Rising Above It All, the Art and Science of Organizational Transformation, they also need to listen to their online training modules, which will give them a good overview of lean principles. You don't need to become a lean expert as an upper manager, but you must at least understand some of the vocabulary and to have a vision of what you should be getting out of this transformation. Additional training may be needed, but for most upper management teams, the training defined up here, the book and the online training, will suffice for our standard transformation. Some upper management teams choose to get certified in Bronze Lean as it gives them more knowledge on some of the transformation tools and is a good example to the rest of the company. But it also takes about 40 hours of lecture time and taking tests, etc. Most upper management, they do not have time for this. But if they do, it does send a good message, but not necessary. The project manager will train with upper management. So I'm talking about upper management here, but the project manager is going to follow this same schedule that you're on. Will train with upper management and may be referred to as the upper management representative and be used for other responsibilities throughout the transformation. You need to become tight with your project manager. Everyone needs to be on the same page with the project manager, upper management also. The project manager must, as a minimum, complete Silver Lean project management training, and he needs to do it quickly. So get one of your sharper people. They must be able to communicate, inspire, get people on board, and report back to upper management on how this thing's going per the schedule that was created. And you can't have any split here. Everyone needs to be loyal to one another. It's kind of like parents and a child. If they see that they're not together on something, they'll pry in there and create a crack. And they're going to do the same thing in this organizational transformation. There will be political battles if you allow them to be, and they'll destroy the transformation if they allow them to split you guys apart. You must be a coherent team. That's upper management and the project manager. And don't move on to the next stage of the project until you have that oneness, if you will. Upper management's responsibility in the transformation is to own the culture. Define the target culture and be an example to the rest of the organization on how to change the culture. And of course, all those are answered in the book. Upper management is also responsible for holding individuals accountable for meeting obligation defined as transformational responsibilities. You have to hold people accountable. If they can't make a date, sometimes you can't, listen to them, and but let them know up front we need to meet these dates. It has to be a top priority. If it's top priority, you're going to meet most of your dates. It's not going to be a big problem. But you need to hold people responsible. That's why you have the project manager reporting back to you. Okay, here's what this is going on with the project. So-and-so's having problems because he had to travel all week. Okay, and there may be reasons why, but you need to know those things and hold people accountable. Try to keep the thing moving. It is also upper management's responsibility to let the organization know what needs to be changed, why it needs to be changed, and then give the necessary resources to the rest of the organization to decide how the changes will be realized. So the employees have to be charged with how they're going to change. Your job is to what needs to be changed and why, and then let your organization take how the changes are going to take place from there. If you go around telling them how it needs to be changed, you destroy the whole transformation. You have to trust the people after they get trained that they're functional and can get things done. The what and why elements refer to strategy, I guess you could say. In summary, upper management is responsible for creating effective strategy and effectively creating that strategy throughout the organization. What needs to be changed and why it needs to be changed. Because if we don't, we can't compete on the world markets, and we're going to have to move stuff to a lower cost production center. We don't want to do that. And so that's why we're implementing lean, so that we don't have to do that. That's an example of a why. What needs to be changed and why it needs to be changed, and then train everyone else on how to make the changes. Now they're buying in, and they're feeling valued, and you can implement lean in that environment. When setting strategic goals, keep in mind that the goals, must be big enough to break the existing habits and force out-of-the-box thinking. So if you say, improve your process throughput time by 10%, well, they may be able to do that with the current way, just adjusting the current way they're doing business. You need to make it big enough to where they say, hey, if we're going to meet this, there's no way we can do it the same way we have. And they'll see lean as a tool to help them meet that. But the goal is forcing them to think out of the box. The goals must be large enough to create meaningful gaps between expectations and current reality. We can't currently do that. Well, what are you going to have to do to make that happen? Well, we could implement Hijunka, we could implement Kaizen, blah, 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 and we could use those tools to help close that gap. The employees will fill the gap by using the methodologies taught in their applicable training programs. Okay, now let's just listen to a couple videos here, and so we can kind of visualize what lean can bring us if properly implemented.
Welcome to Autolead's Module Facility in Ogden, Utah.
Here at Autolead's Module Facility, we make life-saving products for the automotive industry. We get amazing results through our culture of continuous improvement. Our visual workplace and empowered teams are the engine to our success. Through their combined efforts, we continue to exceed targets, even in our ever-changing and challenging environment.
The Auto Leave Production System, or APS, is our method of doing business, with Kaizen being the driving force of improvement. The 987 employees working in teams at the module facility are our greatest asset. Through their Kaizen ideas, we've been able to make continuous improvements in all aspects of our business. Last year, we implemented over 63,000 Kaizen suggestions and completed 1,567 problem-solving projects. Along with these remarkable achievements, we have increased plant productivity by 30%, while reducing our overall material cost per unit by 20%. Through continuous improvement, we have achieved world-class PPM levels while having cut scrap by an incredible 75%. All this has been accomplished while maintaining a customer on-time delivery rate of 99.95%. Improvement has also been seen in our support areas of the plant. Finance has cut monthly financial closing from 5 days to 1.5 days. In our launch engineering department, redesign and reuse of our existing equipment has enabled us to reduce capital costs by 68%. In addition to all this, we have reduced workers' health costs by 39% and total lost days by 97%, while being actively involved in our community doing several projects each year.
We at Auto Leave Module Facility are proud to be recipients of the 2008 Shingo Prize.
Barnes Aerospace Ogden Division is a OEM, original equipment manufacturer of very large fabrications involving the aerospace industry. Our core competencies include hot forming, superplastic forming, cold forming, mechanical assembly, welding, coating, heat treating, brazing. We do it all as a one-stop shop right here in Ogden, Utah.
The game changer in our continuous improvement journey was when we realized that it wasn't about the tools. It was about the people and the people behind the tools and how they implement. And in that, going from a having to a wanting to type culture. A having to culture is the type where a manager will go out and say, I need you to go do this. A wanting to culture is a culture grabbing a manager and saying, come out and look at what we did.
Culture is one that everybody takes pride in their work. They're not looking for the attaboy. They're looking to give it away.
Some of the step changes that we've made since we won the silver medallion from the Shingo Institute, we changed our visual factory. We got better at our visuals so that people could tell every day, are they winning or they're losing, and how they can contribute each day to our continuous improvement programs.
We found out early on as individuals started to do their improvement activities and leave a piece of themselves into the process, the sustainment levels were 100%. It's absolutely key to the success of our program, unleashing the human innovation and empowerment to make change to the processes that they own.
Another thing that we've done over the last couple of years is become actually more collaborative. So many organizations have us and them and silos, and we've been able to break down those silos to where it's a very good collaboration and a very cohesive team.
I believe that everybody should try to give their best every single day. When you do what you can to make not only you happy, but your coworkers happy out on the floor.
We try to solve problems on a daily basis. We have a great vision and a great set of core values that we all work towards. We collaborate on a daily basis. Tons and tons of empowerment is going on throughout the facility at all times.
Each individual person feels empowered to be able to increase their operations that they do, their production that they do, and find the ways to be able to eliminate the waste that are involved in our processes.
Going after the Shingo Prize contributed to our evolution by putting a standard out there to meet or exceed. You have the efficiencies, the qualities, the metrics. You look at data, you find out scientifically what's going on in your business and where it needs to be improved.
Our challenge now will be to sustain and even improve from where we are. because as good as we are now, there are still so many things that we can improve on.
The future for Barnes Aerospace Ogden is about harnessing that competitive nature that we all have and sustaining the culture that we have all worked so hard to achieve.
With this team and where they're at culturally, the sky's the limit. They can achieve anything.
So hopefully those videos gave you a little bit of inspiration that this transformation can be successful. Companies do succeed at it. If you'll just follow the rules with me, you're going to have a high probability of success. Now, if you'd like to see other videos, you can go to this shingo.org awards.html if you desire to see more. But that gives you an idea of what these transformations can do for your company. All right, let's move on. The general metrics, so you need to create some metrics. Notice, especially Autoleaf said, this is how much we improved by. They had all those metrics that they measured. You need to start out with some metrics so you can measure to see if you're improving, to see if you're reaching your objectives. Now, if you want to keep it simple, most those metrics have to do with quality, delivery, and cost. And so you can break those down. I've got a little more specificity. What I did is I copied the metrics down from that Autoleaf video and tell you which ones I thought were pretty important for your initial transformation. Your organization may also consider more specific goals, such as the number of Kaizen suggestions. That measures the amount of activity going on out there. How involved are people? If you have low Kaizen suggestions, that's a bad sign that your transformation isn't going where it needs to go. Number of problem-solving projects that have been implemented would be another one. Plant productivity improvements, that's a big one. Material cost per unit would be another good one to measure. PPM levels, parts per million opportunities, how many are bad? Customer online delivery rate improvement. And so there's some good metrics that you may use as an example. Then they also use monthly financial closing, percent improvement, capital cost, percent reductions, workers' health cost, percent reduction, total lost days, percent reduction. So that'll give you some examples, but management needs to come up with the metrics, and they need to share those metrics throughout the organization so they know what winning looks like. So that's important. Get together and do that. Okay. So there we are right there. Create strategic goals and metrics. I gave you a day to do that. Some people spend a lot more time on strategy, and I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying for this transformation, we kept it pretty simple. Let's keep it to this, and we can move forward with that. If you have more to add to that, please do. Okay. And now we're going to go on to the next work breakdown structure project there. Documenting aligned projects. The project should be documented via project charters. So your project manager knows what a project charter looks like, and he or she can explain that to you. But you need to document projects. Lots of times you think, oh, this would be a good project, but I'm not going to write it down right now. Then you forget about it. Now, I'm not saying all your project, especially at the strategic level, the big problems, your organization will not yet be capable of completing those. So we don't want to give those. But if you have an idea for a project, get it written up, put it in the bank. Bank of projects. You always want a bank of projects. Transformations live off the fuel of a transformation is projects. So if you do not have projects identified and accepted by upper management, then you're not giving fuel to the transformation. Now I can tell you this as we go throughout this lecture, throughout the other modules, I'll tell you what kind of projects to do and what your first wave of projects should be. But the point I want you to understand right now is say, wow, if we could fix this problem, imagine how much better our company. Write that down, put in a project charter, and sign off on it. So it's in the bank, ready to go, and you'll implement that in a timely manner. By timely, I mean when the people are capable of actually solving that type of problem. But they have to be trained first. And you don't get these huge projects that are difficult to manage right off the bat because it's like throwing a big log on a little fire. The little fire is the transformation just getting started. You throw a big log on there, it kills the fire. Big projects, complex projects that are too complex for the people you currently have, their current capability, and giving them those, they'll fail. And failure will destroy the transformation. Transformations are starving for success, so keep that in mind. But you should document all the projects and then determine when it's a good time to release those to the project workers. Remember, projects are the fuel of the transformation, so you want to have a bank of projects ready to be released to the newly trained workforce. Do not create a situation where you run out of documented projects, as this has the potential of destroying the transformation. And so write those down, document them. Again, later I'm going to tell you specific projects that would probably be good first projects. But any project you have, you should put it in the bank. Don't release it till the workforce is ready for it, though. Project selection for the newly trained teams is extremely important from a strategic perspective. Most of the initial projects will be lean projects versus the more difficult Six Sigma projects. Even though we're going to train a lot of people on lean and some people on Six Sigma, we're going to focus on lean projects first. Do not assign projects that are more difficult than the current skill level of the employees can handle. This will kill the transformation. I've seen many transformations kill off. They say, hey, we've done all this training. This will give us a huge return on investment. You go figure out how to do it. And I could come in after working with these kind of people all the time that are just getting, they're just being introduced to this. I can tell you, no, don't give them that yet. Give them a couple years to develop the expertise and confidence to take on that type of project. So be careful, be strategic. Remember that early on in the transformation, successfully completing projects is more important than the return on investment. Remember, the transformation is starving for success. So small projects, low risk, are the most important ones up front. And they'll still give you a return on investment. Success will feed fuel to the transformation, and lack of success will destroy it. So we want success first, and primarily the first element, success. Small projects, easy to do. Let's celebrate. Let's get the momentum built up. Let's get the confidence built up. Let's get the knowledge built up. Then give them more difficult projects as we move along. Don't worry, as teams evolve, you will see an excellent return on investment from the transformation, but you must be patient. You must be patient in the transformation. Follow the rules. Be timely. Be strategic, or you'll fail. The next step is to determine how you want to launch the transformation. You may choose to launch, to move forward and attempt to transform the complete organization, or you may choose to run a pilot program. By pilot, I mean maybe you're just one factory. Well, you're just going to transform one production line. Or you may be VP of a huge organization, and you may pick one factory to be the pilot program. Why? This is why. Because let's say you have hundreds of factories and you're just going to transform one. Well, you pick all the best people that you can possibly think of, the best leaders that fit that mold, and you bring them into the transformation. If you only have one factory, you don't have as much to pick from, so you're going to pick the best you have in the factory and focus it on one production line. That's what I mean by pilot. Now, you could do the whole organization if you had the leadership that had matured to that point. Most organizations do not, so you have to handpick the best and put it in a smaller subset and take your greatest talent to reduce the probability of failure. We don't want to fail here, and so I recommend the pilot program because it's less risky. For most organizations, you will want to choose the pilot program. This method has significantly lower risk, and risk is the enemy of a successful organizational transformation. The downside of the pilot program is that it takes significantly longer to complete the first cycle of transformation. So now you're going to have to repeat it over and over again to transform your whole organization. So time is definitely the weak point on the pilot one. However, once you get your pilot transformation done, you can use the knowledge you gained there and multiply it. And so you transform exponentially over time. First you do one line, then the next wave of the transformation you do 2 more, then 4 more, then 8 more, and you keep evolving. And what are you really evolving here? A lot of things, but what we're really looking for is evolving leadership to where now I can take them over into this other pilot program and they can successfully run it. At least coach it. It may not be full-time. It may be full-time at first, then they can back off as time goes along and just monitor the situation. But I'd rather have them there too much time than too little. It's hard to turn back once you destroy the momentum of a transformation. So you'd rather have a few extra resources there until you understand your true capability. All right, the vast majority of organizations do not have the depth of leadership necessary to pull off a successful and complete organizational transformation. That's the constraint of the transformation, is leadership. And it takes time to develop it. And that's the constraint right there in most cases. If you'll follow my methodology, it will succeed if you have the leadership necessary. If you don't, it will fail. That's why I call it the constraint of the transformation, is leadership capability. And it takes time to build that capability. The concept behind the pilot program method is to identify your most capable leaders and employees who will support the transformation. What did I say? Support it, not fight it. Support the transformation and bring them together for the pilot program transformation. You're bringing out your very best, and you're having them read the book and everything else. For larger companies, the pilot may be a complete facility. For smaller companies, it may be a production line. And I know you're getting a little redundancy here. After upper management determines the scope of the pilot program and who will be participating in the pilot program, they will now determine who will be trained to what elements of the training program. After upper management agrees on the transformation philosophy and their role in the transformation, they need to communicate this down to middle management. So when you read the book, Rising Above It All, The Art and Science of Organizational Transformation, you'll read it, then you'll get together as a group and say, you know, how are we doing with this? Anyone disagree with this? And you may have to change it a little bit. I wouldn't change it too much from my experience. A lot of times companies say, well, we want to change this, this, and that. By the time they change everything, they're doing what they're currently doing, and then they want to use what they're currently doing and get different results. And as you know, that's the definition of insanity. So if you're going to change, you got to change. You have to change your philosophies also. And people don't like to change. Cultural change is difficult. But you need to, once you come up and you agree on a change philosophy, a transformation philosophy, you're going to have to populate that throughout the organization. Everyone needs to be working off the same philosophy. And the next patient at hand, if you will, is middle management. But don't move forward and educate middle management until everyone's bought in on upper management. Remember, you have to be as one, a team of one. You're not fighting with each other. If you are, then you're going to have problems. Okay. Well, congratulations. You have almost completed this module. However, remember, you still need to complete the module exam. If you have any questions, please contact me, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. Congratulations. You have completed this module. I hope you have learned something new that will enhance your career. Thank you, and goodbye.